Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's season, we are continuing our journey inside Rhino and its jewelry plugin Matrix. We are going to explore some of the most essential curve and shape commands, including Interp Curve, Rectangle, Circle, and Ellipse. These are the building blocks of almost every jewelry design you'll create, so pay close attention. This is where the real fun begins. So grab a coffee and let's jump right in. The next command we are going to learn together is Interp Curve, which stands for Interpolated Curve. This command allows you to draw a smooth curved line that passes through a series of points you click on the screen. So, what does that actually mean? When you click on the Interp Curve command and set your starting point, for example using F4 to start from the center, you can begin clicking around the screen to create a flowing organic curve. Each click adds a new point and Rhino automatically draws a smooth curve that passes through all of them. One important thing to keep in mind: once you've placed a few points, you'll notice that each new click has the most influence on the two previous points. This is because the curve tries to maintain a smooth flow based on the points you've already set. So, the more points you add, the more refined your curve becomes. Now, here's a helpful tip. If you make a mistake while placing a point, instead of using Ctrl+Z to undo everything, you can use the undo button right inside the command bar. This will only undo the last click, which is perfect for fixing small mistakes. But if you use Ctrl+Z, it will undo all the points you've placed, which can be frustrating if you've already created a beautiful curve. So remember, use the command bar undo for single steps and Ctrl+Z when you need to go further back. With the Interp Curve, you can easily draw anything you imagine: curves, spirals, organic shapes, or even a perfect heart shape, like this one I'm going to show you. This is one of the most creative and flexible tools you'll use in your jewelry designs. Now, let's move on to the next command, Rectangle. As the name suggests, this command draws a four-sided shape for you. When you click on the Rectangle command, the command bar will ask you to define one corner of the rectangle. You can start by using F4 to place the center button. From there, you can either click freely or enter exact dimensions. For example, if you type 10 for the x-axis and 20 for the y-axis, Rhino will draw a rectangle with those exact measurements. But here's a special trick. If you want your rectangle to be drawn from the center rather than from a corner, you can activate the center option inside the command bar. Once you do that, you can use F4 to set the center point and Rhino will draw the rectangle outward from that point. In this mod, you don't need to worry about positive or negative numbers. Just type the dimensions you want, and Rhino will draw it perfectly centered. Now, let's talk about the Circle command, one of the most commonly used tools in jewelry design. After you define the start point, the command bar gives you the option to choose between radius or diameter. You can enter the value based on whichever option you prefer, and my personal recommendation is use the diameter option. It's so much easier to visualize and more practical for most jewelry designs, especially when you're working with rings, pendants, and gemstone settings. Next up, the ellipse command. The ellipse is basically a stretched circle, and it's very useful for designing oval shapes like gemstones, pendant bases, or ring tops. After you define the starting point, you can choose which axis to define first, X or Y. If you click on the X-axis, Rhino will ask for the Y-axis length next. This gives you full control over the proportions of your ellipse, making it perfect for designs that require precise oval shapes. And then there's the arc command. But don't worry, I'll cover that in a future season, because it deserves its own dedicated video. Next, we are going to learn about the arc direction command, another powerful tool that lets you draw curved segments with precise control. After you define the start point and the end point, you can define the direction of the arc, meaning you can pull the curve outward or inward as much as you like. This is incredibly useful for creating decorative details, arches, loops, or any part of jewelry piece that requires a specific curved shape. And finally, I want to give you a quick preview in the next video. We are going to dive into what I like to call the 11 commands. These are arguably some of the most important commands you'll use in Rhino and Matrix. The ones you'll rely on for almost every design you create. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a game changer for your workflow. So, to quickly recap everything we covered today, Interp Curve, that draw smooth curves through multiple points. Rectangle, that draw four-sided shapes from a corner or from the center. Circle, that draw perfect circles using radius or diameter. And ellipse, that draw oval shapes by defining X and Y axes. And arc direction, that draw curved segments with directional control. These tools will become the foundation of your modeling workflow. Take your time to experiment with each one and don't be afraid to play around and make mistakes. That's how you learn. And that wraps up today's season. We covered a lot today, from smooth curves with Interp Curve to precise shapes with rectangle, circle, and ellipse, and even a preview of the arc direction command. These are essential tools that you'll use again and again in your jewelry designs, so practice them until they feel natural. In the next video, I'll be introducing the 11 commands, some of the most powerful and frequently used tools in Rhino and Matrix. You won't want to miss it. If you found this helpful, please hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions. I read them all. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy designing.